Jeff, what the heck was that?
Ray, that anguished scream is the reason we've come to this old monastery building here in Cumberland, Rhode Island.
All right, I take it we're looking for ghosts?
We are.
So there's a man haunting the woods out by the Cumberland Monastery?
Well, not just one.
All right.
One of them is said to be a giant with 2 rows of teeth.
Ooh.
They say there are 9 ghosts out here. I'm Jeff Belanger, and this is episode 61 of the New England Legends podcast. If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
And I'm Ray Auger. Welcome, all you travelers in search of ghosts, monsters, aliens, and odd history from the northeastern United States.
Mm-hmm.
We invite you to join the movement in helping us chronicle every legend in New England 1 week and 1 story at a time. You can do that by becoming a patron on our Patreon page, where you'll get early access to new episodes and bonus episodes no one else gets to hear. Just go to patreon.com/New England Legends. You can also help us by telling 2 friends about our show today. Maybe 3.
Just 2, 3,
3.
4 if you're
Come on.
feeling, absolutely generous. But speaking of chronicling stories, my 2019 Haunted New England wall calendar is now available.
Nice.
It's limited edition. We just have like 150 left, and they're full color. They feature my stories and the eerie photography of Frank Grace.
They're beautiful.
They are amazing. You can get one from me at one of my stops on the fall story tour or from our website at ournewenglandlegends.com. They're limited edition, so once they're gone, they're gone.
All right, Jeff. So the last time we were in Cumberland, Rhode Island, we were searching for Fingernail Freddy. Remember him?
Yeah, I do, and that's true. You can go back to our archives and check out episode 22 if you want to hear that tale.
All right, so now we're back and we're looking for 9 ghosts?
9.
Wow. This former Cumberland monastery was once home to the Order of the Cistercian monks, but today this building is the Cumberland Library. This area really is pretty.
Yeah, it is.
There's marked trails, well-tended gardens, and apparently it's also haunted.
That's what they say.
So I've heard stories about the former monastery being haunted by some folks who work here.
Okay.
The monastery was built in 1902 and sits on 481 acres of land.
Got it.
The Trappist Abbey grew for several decades until 1950 when a fire severely damaged the building. Oh. At that point, the monks relocated to Spencer, Massachusetts, my
Your
home area.
Stomping ground,
I
right?
went to David Prouty High School. And this building sat mostly empty until 1976 when the Cumberland Library moved in and started making repairs and modifications.
But the 9 ghosts have nothing to do with the monks or the abbey.
No.
They predate this place by centuries.
All right, I guess we should start with what happened here centuries ago. How far back are we talking, Jeff?
We're talking 1676.
1676.
Right.
Northern Rhode Island.
Yep.
I'm guessing this might be related to King Philip's War.
Ray, you are spot on.
All right, just to recap, the King Philip's War was the bloodiest conflict in American and British history per capita.
Right.
Meaning the greatest percentage of the population was lost in this war compared to any other so far.
Between 1675 and 1676, there was a Native American uprising in the region of Rhode Island, central and eastern Massachusetts, and even southern parts of modern-day Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. The uprising was led by Wampanoag sachem Metacom, who the British colonists called King Philip.
This war claimed nearly 30% of the English population and upwards of 70% of the Native American population when you combine battle casualties with starvation and disease. It was brutal. And the strange thing is, so few Americans have ever heard of this war.
Unlike traditional wars that the British were used to fighting, where soldiers line up across the field from the opposing army and just, shoot at each other like gentlemen,
right.
This was more like guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
The Native Americans knew they were outgunned, but that doesn't mean they couldn't win battles. They had the advantage of knowing the terrain, and they had no issue with hiding out and setting up an ambush when they could.
The Native Americans were fighting for their homeland and their way of life.
Yeah, right.
And the colonists were fighting to conquer the country where they were settling.
This war isn't talked about in school because it's pretty much the antithesis to the Thanksgiving story.
So I take it some King Philip's War battle took place right around this spot in Cumberland?
Yeah, it did in a way. Let's head into the woods up this trail right over there. There's something we should see.
All right. Oh, maybe it's the woods in the fall, or maybe it's just me, Jeff, but I'm getting kind of a weird feeling out here.
Yeah, I get that, Ray. It's like you have some understanding that you're walking on hollowed ground. So picture this.
Okay.
It's late March of 1676, and Colonial Captain Michael Pierce and 60 of his men, along with 20 Wampanoag allies, are marching along the Blackstone River in Central Falls, Rhode Island, which is just south of us. They're hunting down a group of Narragansett, Nashaway, Nipmunk, and Podunk fighters who had recently attacked Plymouth, Massachusetts, and then they burned several Rhode Island towns on their way back south. Pierce is hunting them down, and then he spots a group of enemy fighters who appear to be injured. Giving chase, they follow the injured fighters, but then they see they're not injured at all. And now, there's an ambush. For hours, Pierce and his troops try to hold their ground, but they're far outnumbered and completely surrounded. The Native American forces kill Captain Pierce and all of his men, except 9. 9 of them survive the battle, but pretty soon, they wish they hadn't. The 9 prisoners are marched north all the way to modern-day Cumberland to right about here, Ray.
All right, then what happened?
The men are tortured, killed, and their desecrated bodies are left lying right at the top of this hill for all to see. It was a major victory for the Native Americans in the King Philip's War.
Wow. That's probably why I have this uneasy feeling.
Well, it could be. So when other colonists discovered these 9 tortured bodies a short while later, they gathered them up and buried them right here. And on top of their graves, they built a stone cairn as a memorial.
Oh, wow. I can see a rock formation and some kind of marker just ahead of us.
Yeah, there it is. So this is the actual memorial. Go ahead and give the plaque a read.
All right. It says, 9 men's misery on this spot where they were slain by the Indians were buried the 9 soldiers captured in Pierce's fight, March 26th, 1676. Wow, knowing that story and knowing these men were buried right here at our feet makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah.
That first stone cairn is now more of a tomb with stones set in cement, forming a rectangular block.
Right.
In front of that, the plaque is set in concrete. It's believed this is the oldest surviving memorial to fallen soldiers in the U.S.
What's strange is often visitors will leave American flags here as an offering to the soldiers.
That is strange, considering these soldiers were British
Right.
and would have remained so for another century. With that dark history, it's no wonder this place is haunted.
Well, I wish this was the end of the story, but it's not. Something else happened to these men long after they were buried. But for that, I think we should head back down to the library.
All right, what are we looking for?
Shh.
Okay, what are we looking for?
We're going to dig through some of the old newspapers in search of anything related to 9 men's misery. Considering the library is so close to the site, they get asked about this a lot.
All right, they do have a ton of material on file. Check out this newspaper article from the Providence Journal that documents what happened at the 9 men's misery site back in 1790.
The incident occurred in relation to the 9 men's grave. It was either during or shortly after the Revolutionary War. Some Providence gentlemen, led, it is said, by Dr. Bowen, went up to the place and dug open the grave. They had already stretched 3 of the skeletons upon the ground when they were discovered. When the Cumberland people found out what was going on, a hue and cry being raised, and the farmers assembling from all the region round, the cessation of the robbery was compelled, the disinterment being regarded as a first-class outrage. It is not said whether the affair took place at night, by the light of lanterns in the windy forests, but the story is true as it is told, and well illustrates the peculiar place the tradition has in the minds of the Cumberland people. One of the skeletons dug up was of extraordinary size, and by the fact of its having a double set of teeth, was recognized as that of Benjamin Buckland of Rehoboth. James Whitney, Providence Journal.
So there is something to the story of a giant with multiple rows of teeth haunting 9 men's misery.
The worst part is the skull of Benjamin Buckland was not reinterred with his comrades after it was dug up. It was given to the Rhode Island Historical Society for preservation back in the 1800s.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the skull has been lost.
Oh, that's even worse.
So we have a grave desecrated and a hulking figure with a double row of teeth no longer connected to its body.
Oh, my God.
No wonder these men may not be at rest. I mean, we can't stop gawking at them.
So it's getting dark out. Do you want to head back up there?
I'm in. So when we know the history,
Yeah.
and we know the stories told, and the sun is setting, this place has an entirely different feel to it I just can't shake the feeling that we're not alone. If you want to see pictures of the Nine Men's Misery Monument, go to our website at ournewenglandlegends.com and click on episode 61. Just like with all of our episodes, we often have pictures and links to more information.
And would like to send a special hello to legendary listener Lucas from Milford, Massachusetts. He's 11 years old and never misses an episode. Thanks, Lucas.
Thanks, Lucas. We'd like to thank Michael Legge, of course, for lending his voice acting talents this week, and our music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember, the bizarre is closer than you think.